podcast. Hope everybody's having a great start to their week. It is Tuesday, already September 19th. Feel like we're blowing through September, Craig. So it's been fun so far. We're already at week 6, man. So what's your thoughts so far on the season, man?
Yeah,
Midway.
week 6. It's crazy. It's like when you're in high school and it's like your junior year, senior year, it seems like it takes forever. But when you're just covering it, it's Friday after Friday after Friday. And how many games do you think we've been to so far? Let's see. Sheriff's Cup,
Yup.
11 at Corky Kell. Oh, yeah, it's been
We
over
had the Great Atlanta
20.
Bash, 4 games.
So that's 16. Yeah, about 21 games.
Already, and then way more to go, man.
Yep,
So we've been all over, and we're excited. We got a lot more to go to, and it's been a fun season. Then we got the Hall of Fame doubleheader to look forward to too.
absolutely.
Yep, yep. So no, it's been fun, man. But before we even start for a week 5 standout performance, let's talk about the matchup from Friday night. Let's just break it down a little bit, go a little more in depth. Just I know you talked about it on your show yesterday, Craig, but just what are your quick thoughts just on the Marist and Blessed Trinity game? What kind of just stood out to you?
Yeah, well, it was a great opportunity to see a top 10 matchup in 6A. These teams are rivals. It's a kind of rivalry, but I was just impressed with Maris. I knew watching them, there's not just like one standout guy. They're so good as a team. It's hard to game plan. It's hard to stop that triple option. I just thought they executed very well, dominated that first half, played better on special teams. Didn't really make any mistakes. Had the one turnover, but I mean they looked really good. But then with BT, I felt like they did have some better athletes at certain positions. Thought Brooks Goodman at quarterback has a bright future, and then Bryce Lewis, that receiver, 6 foot. You weren't kidding. They need to get him the ball a lot more, and I think it's a good opportunity for BT. They're going to play Sprayberry next. They're 3-1. They've had some big wins. They've had some sloppy outings. They made some mistakes, but overall, I think both teams are going to be good moving forward. And I just thought it was a pretty solid win and just a good opportunity for us to see Coach Chadwick get another win. One of the most successful coaches in Georgia history.
No, 100%. And I was kind of surprised. I think it was a little unique for me because I was on the sidelines. I think it was the first time I've seen Coach Dudley. Like, he didn't even have a headset on. He was just out there coaching with no headset or anything. So I thought that was unique. That was one of the things that stood out to me being on the sideline. And I like the resolve and resilience that Blessed Trinity had, right? Like, they could have came out and they could have 35 owed them. They could have just went out to a even bigger lead. Like, after that Jack Uart um, QB keeper for a touchdown. That felt like it sucked all the energy out of the stadium. But they know they came back out.
Yeah,
They were fighting. So Coach Dudley does a good job. And I thought the turning of that game was that fumble. That fumble, they was driving down, look to put the game away 24-0. They get the big fumble, change the momentum, and then Blessed Trinity booms right back in the game. And
yeah,
I 100% agree with you, Craig. They need to trust Brooks Goodman more. To me, like you said, I think he's a good quarterback. It's why I highlighted him as a player to watch for impact play. He had 2 touchdowns in the game. If you could let him kind of run the offense more, because the running game wasn't working, but when they were throwing the ball, allowing him to kind of just evaluate the offense, it looked a lot more crisper and fresh. And obviously, Coach Allen does a great job as the offensive coordinator, but I think he should just entrust a little bit more in his quarterback, just open up the offense some. And when he was throwing the ball, he's throwing it well. And as you mentioned, I think, Bryce Lewis, that 6'6" target, not a lot of players are going to be able to guard him, right? Committed to Arizona. If you just throw the ball up to him, 9 times out of 10, he's going to go get it. So that was my big standout as well. And I thought defensively they did better in the second half, just, trying to stop the run and getting the ball back to the offense, in
yeah.
my opinion.
And no offense to Maris, but there's no one on that secondary that can match up with Bryce Lewis.
No.
Just not in a one-on-one situation. And I think you're exactly right. In that third quarter, once BT got one thing to go their way with the turnover, they played better than Maris did. They dominated that third quarter. Those 2 scoring drives they had, real physical. They had a good balance offensively. They were aggressive on first downs. They looked outstanding. They looked like the better team in that third quarter. But then I think they had one of their, I think it was their starting guard went down, a torn ACL. Maris had their response, and it was really their fullback. His name over there, but number 41,
Jackson Hughes.
Jackson Hughes. Yeah,
Sure.
he was just a tough finisher in game, played outstanding, and just impressed. I want to see what Marist is going to do moving forward. Got the big showdown that I'm excited about against North Atlanta. I think that's going to be a very intriguing matchup. North Atlanta is still undefeated, had a big win over Wheeler. Going to try to get Coach All on tomorrow, but that's a matchup in a few weeks. I think is going to be a really important game in 6A.
I 100% agree, and it's going to be a battle. And what better way for North Atlanta to continue a great start to the season already by securing that number 1 seed? And Marist is going to come. We know what Marist likes to do. Marist likes to run the football, power I formation, hand it off to Jackson Hughes, QB keepers. If they have to, they're going to throw it to Luke Harpering on the other side. But I think it's such an intriguing matchup, as you mentioned, because North Atlanta likes to run the ball too, right? But they can also do read option, right? That track speed, right? Darius Malcolm, Demetrius Barnes, Zayden Benson, right? How physical can they be? And we've seen the physicality week 1 or week 0, whatever you want to call it, in Corkell when they played Johns Creek. So as you mentioned, Craig, I think you're 100% right. I think that would be a game. I think that's what, October 6th, I think?
Yep.
That might be before our North Cobb Walton game. I think that would be a game also to consider maybe
It's
putting on
going
TV.
to be so exciting because you have the North Atlanta speed. They do have maybe a size advantage up front on the offensive line, but then you're going up against that Marist triple option. They're going to try to control the ball. They're going to try to slow down the pace. That's just a great matchup. And then last year, Marist dominated in the region. I think it's going to be a lot closer this year. But really, with North Atlanta last year, they started off 4-0. They lost to Wheeler. Wheeler ran the ball all over them. They kind of fell apart. They rebounded, advanced in the playoffs for the first time. So I think just coming off what was the best season in school history, picking up this 5-0 start, they've got the continuity and the coaching staff. I think it's year 4 for Coach All now. I think they're a real challenge, and they're knocking on the door of the 6A rankings right now. We've seen some new teams get in there, but just one of the many exciting matchups. I think 6A is where it's going to be at. Some big games coming up with Houston County, Lee County. You got Gainesville balling out. You got Douglas County and Hughes this week. So in terms of 6A, I was excited to see 2 teams in the top 10. I think it just only intrigued my interest moving forward.
And to bring up that point, you were previewing some of the top matchups. Let's look at week 6, some of the top matchups this week. Which ones you kind of got your eye on, Craig?
Yeah, Douglas County and Hughes is going to be outstanding. The Maxwell, I just looked at it. They have it as a 16-point favorite for Hughes. I think they're predicting the computer 36 victory. What's exciting about Hughes, I think, this year is they've really, I think, improved their rushing attack. Justice Savage has been outstanding. They can easily just commit to the run game, pick up 250 on the ground if they need to. So are they going to try to run the ball on Douglas County, or are they going to let Aaron Nolan get the passing attack going? And then you just have this Douglas County offense that same sort of thing. They can be versatile, but they can just strike fast. Sire, we all know what he can do. And I thought it was a good result for them against Alexander. We'll see. I think it's going to be exciting, but whoever gets off to the fast start, that will be so key in that one, and certainly a game we'll be watching closely. I think it's going to be the de facto region championship as well. You have East Paulding's looking good also. They had a big win over South Paulding. Credit to Churchfield, but I just think this is a big opportunity for Douglas County. I'm sure they've been circling this one on the schedule all season.
100%. And a couple for me going to be Cedar Grove, Colquitt County. We know Colquitt County down south has been really impressive this season. They were 1 game away basically from making the championship game. They ended up losing at home against Carrollton and Juju Lewis and crew. So Cedar Grove rebound after giving up that big rushing game to Cam Robinson, over 200 plus yards rushing, I think 3 to 4 touchdowns. So that'll be another interesting test for Cedar Grove. See how they come out. We know how tough of a non-region schedule they make for themselves. So we'll see how they look. Another one I got circled is Cedartown versus Dalton. I think that'll be an intriguing matchup as well. Looking at Cedartown, seeing how good they are. And Dalton, has looked better this season. So I think that'll be interesting. And then got private schools. You got Lovett versus Fellowship Christian. It's always a good matchup in any sport whenever they play each other. So I think that'll be another intriguing matchup. As I think what's his name? Heaven Brown Schuler will be in that one. It's a lot of great athletes. Be a lot of fun to watch. Jordan Burns as well. One that got really circled, Craig. Lowndes Grayson. Listen to this stat, Craig. Deshaun Horton, who is one of my former, he had over 116 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. So why I bring up that matchup, Grayson got some dudes too at receiver. Uh, Alex Sanchez, and then one is I highlighted today on my daily dive. John who's a big impact player, get it done on spell, also get it done in the receiving game. He leads them in receiving catches, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. So I think that's going to be intriguing to see. Can the Lions defense kind of improve from that last week against East Calwetta, who likes to throw the ball? We know Grace could throw the ball as well. Jeff Davis having a good senior season, 13 touchdowns. Can they kind of slow down that passing attack for Grayson? I think it's going to be a key thing. And they got a lot of playmakers. And Grayson, since that week one loss, it's undefeated, and they've been playing some really good. So that's another one I got circled as well.
Grayson offense has been really intriguing. You know how good they are defensively every year. They got Tyler Atkinson. I think he's most impressive defensive player I've probably seen in the state this season. The way he can fly around and impact every single snap, he's just incredible. But offensively, they're really starting to find a rhythm, and it's a big opportunity. Obviously, Lowndes is going to be motivated. They got Coach Carter going up against his former team. That will be a televised matchup. And Grayson's OC was actually at the Marist BT game. I was hanging out with him pretty much the entire second half, and he was just talking about how pissed off they were after the Walton game. Not at Walton, not at anyone except themselves. They were very embarrassed by it. They went out, put up 83 points the next week, played some really tough football games. I think once they hit this, okay, we got a big South Georgia team. It's going to feel like a playoff game in a sense. And then once they get into that region, they know they're going to have to be sharp. We've talked about Parkview. They still got to play Brookwood. Newton just had the big win over Westlake. South Gwinnett's undefeated. They're about to play Norcross. And you got Archer in there too. Archer's played Grayson tough year after year. So I think this is the time we're going to see how good that Grayson offense is. But I've certainly been impressed, and they've been definitely, I think, much sharper than last season.
No, 100%. And I think, as you mentioned, they were upset, and they had to kind of take a reprieve and kind of see, okay, hey, you know, how can we come back from that? And they've looked good since. They had a big victory on the road. They had to go to Spartanburg, South Carolina, against a really good team, great atmosphere, and crazy thing. 4th and 27, they convert and cook the game-winning field goal on the road. That does a lot for a team morale and getting you going and fired up for the season. So they're gonna be fun to see them again this season in the Hall of Fame game. So I can't wait to see them playmakers in action. Yet again, I got one more matchup, and I'm gonna throw to you, Craig. I know you got a couple. Savannah Christian and Calvary Day. I don't know if you had that one circled.
Really close right there.
They got 59% for Calvary Day. Yep. Savannah Christian looks like was
4-point favorite.
4-point favorite. Look, man, I cannot talk enough about how incredible of a matchup that's going to be, right? You got a great offense in Calvary Day, right, led by Jake Merkelinger, who's committed to Tennessee. You got Michael Smith, who's committed to South Carolina. You got a good rushing attack, good playmakers. I think you got Thomas Blackshear as well for Calvary Day against that defensive line, right, led by the number 2 player in the country in the 2025 class, Elijah Griffin. And they got a nice freshman who's, turning the heads, getting some good rotation, playing really hard, LaDamian Guyton. I almost made this my game of the week. It was that close. It was between 2 matchups, that close to being my game of the week. But, I mean, man, it's just going to be fun to watch these 2 teams duke it out and go at it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a low-scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of high-scoring. But I think it will be intriguing to see them 2 go head-to-head and kind of just match it out. Excited for that one.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to, I think, see how good Calvary Day is. They're putting up like 50 points a game, and defensively, they've been shutting it down.
Yes.
I think it has to be more low scoring if Savannah Christian's going to come out, but I think it's going to be physical. You talked about all these talented playmakers. I mean, there are quality dudes all over the field for both those teams, multi-year starters, underclassmen that are multi-year nationally touted guys. So huge matchup. I think that'll be a great environment. We definitely will be tuned into that one. And then let's stick to that theme on games that are going to give us a good look at how how talented these teams are going to be. I think Westlake, Collins Hill. How's Westlake going to respond to that tough loss to Newton last week? Got the Houston County Warner Robins. Good rivalry. Houston's in 6A, Warner Robins is in 5. They've had to crawl back in a lot of games recently. They were able to do it last week, but how good's Houston County? How are they going to come out before getting into Region 1? Milton and North Cobb. Let's see if Milton can continue to dominate. But you've been to some of those Milton North Cobb matchups.
I have.
They've always been
They play it tough.
exceptional,
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
And so that will be a good one in 7A.
The interesting thing about that, Craig, and you brought up a great point, I think. North Cobb just went down to Northside Warner Robins and beat them pretty good, right? And they always play Milton tough. I think that's going to be an intriguing matchup to see. And David Esiemi from going to Clemson, he just got, I think, what was one of the top plays according to Recruit Georgia. So it's going to be an intriguing matchup to see, right? As I mentioned, going into the Roswell game, I had circled that defensive line, right, from Milton. And we seen it, right? Obviously, KJ still had a good game. He still was able to throw the ball. And then speaking of SEM, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns on 22 carries in their victory against Northside Warner Robins. So that D line against that offensive line, that rushing game, going to be intriguing to see. And we saw Milton kind of give trouble to Roswell, right? Going into that game, it was difficult, for them to get really anything going, right? They still, they was able to come back and get some throws in, but a lot of times, KJ Smith just had to go make a play. He had to scramble out the pocket. And they D line just something special, right? AJ Bitten, excuse me. Christian Pancake Hunter, they got Caleb. They got so many dudes they can just throw at you. So that's gonna be an intriguing matchup to see. And we know North Cobb's gonna want to run the ball, and they're gonna run some read option, obviously, with Nick Grimstead. So I agree with you, Craig. That's gonna be a pretty intriguing matchup to see. And I think it's gonna be featured I think on GPB as far as just airing it, and you can go watch the show live as well. So it will be on TV. They won't have I think none of the crew there, but it will be aired on GPB as their web game. So that'll be intriguing to watch as well.
Oh, that's good. I will definitely tune in. Norcross, South Gwinnett. It's a big opportunity for South Gwinnett. They're still undefeated. We talked about that one a bit. And then obviously our game, Buford against Marietta. How sharp is Buford going to look? They've gotten off to some slow starts in the first half. They were only up 10-0 on Carver Atlanta. I'm expecting defensively, I think they'll have no problem. You look at Marietta against Walton last week. I think Walton held Marietta to, 20 yards rushing, 50% completions in the passing game. I think Buford's defense will be able to get after it, but offensively, it's time to see this Buford team up close and personal, how big they are on the offensive line. Are they going to be able to spread it out? What type of tempo are they going to run? How conservative are they in their play calling? And then obviously getting a firsthand look at Dylan Rayola, one of the highest rated prospects I've ever seen in person. So that will certainly be an interesting opportunity to check out the Wolves. And then which other one did we mention? Let's see. Oh yeah, East Coweta and Lambert, an obvious showdown to keep an eye on in 7A. Both those teams are knocking on the door of the rankings. You got Jefferson and Clark Central, should be a really good matchup in the Athens area. You got, let's see, Troop against Stars Mills. Stars Mills coming off that big win over LaGrange. Troop's been outstanding though, so we'll see. I expect that one to be a little more low scoring. Stars Mill has a great defense this season. And then let's see. Burke County State should be an interesting one. Defeated. It's a good rivalry game right there. Then going through this. Oh, you got Roswell playing Johns Creek. I want to see what KJ Smith's numbers are after that game. Johns Creek has been struggling, so he should probably light it up this week and get on track heading into that region. But yeah, should be an interesting week. I think the several games we highlighted, I mean, that's going to be exceptional.
Yes, 100%. And now let's move to our standout performers. Let's wrap up our. Well, we got one more topic. Our supporter Jimmy Cash always tunes in, so we're gonna talk a little about Carver Columbus. But let's talk about Week 5 standout performers. As I mentioned early, Deshaun Horsley for me, 5 catches, 216 yards, 4 touchdowns against that really good Lowndes defense. Getting on the road, that is not easy to do. Go South Georgia, as I talked to Coach Small, 4 hour drive, not easy to do to go down there and get a victory in a hostile environment, and just a team that's known for winning, as I mentioned. So big time performance from him. Nearly had every time he touched the ball, nearly had a touchdown. So can't get better than that. Number 2 for me, Nicholas Woodford, 300 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. He continues his dominant performance. Last year, he was leading the league in rushing. He continues that strong performance down there. I think he's in either Northeast or Southeast Macon. He's just doing a phenomenal job. So he's one of my. All right, and then quarterback Jim Franklin, 27 for 34, 309 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Great effort by him. That is another one of my standout performers. And last, I got to give some credit and some love to quarterback Jack Uart. Not talked about enough, but one player of the game, I thought his performance offensively was fantastic. Him being able to get that QB keeper right before the half, great call by Najeh and Craig. Because I thought the same. I thought like Rusty. I'm like, okay, hey, this is 50-50 ball time. I'm gonna throw it up to Luke Harper and see what he can do. Their DBs are not that big. Nonetheless, QB keeper fools the defense, opens it up, takes it to the house. I thought his performance was spectacular. Didn't really turn over the ball. He did great. That's another one of my standout performers.
Yep, for sure. And then I can't believe I forgot to mention this game, Parkview Mill Creek.
Oh,
And so that's going to go into
that's this week?
Yes. It was at the top of the list. And so I saw Douglas County Hughes below and went to that. But yeah, I talked a little bit about it yesterday. That is going to be such a big test for Parkview. I think Mill Creek has really dominated them the last few seasons, but this is a little bit of a new Mill Creek team. Parkview looks a lot different. I like Parkview's defense a lot. And one of the guys, Antonio White Williams, I got it right here last week. 10 solo tackles, 2.5 for a loss in a shutout over St. Pius. That's Parkview's second shutout. So he's going to be a huge factor in trying to stop that Cam Robinson offense and all the playmakers Mill Creek has. And then on the flip side, Mill Creek's defense, Josh Anglin, that's a name we've seen, been so key for them defensively at that linebacker role. And then he had 4 tackles, tackle for the loss, and 2 sacks in the Cedar Grove victory. So I think both defenses, who's going to make those big stops? How much pressure are they going to put on that Parkview offense? Is Parkview going to rely on Traylon Maddox? Very interesting matchup, but I'm going with Mill Creek, and I think they're going to come away with an impressive victory. And I wouldn't say wrong about them, but I was keeping them, I think, a little too low in the polls. I think recently, though, they've proved top 4.
I have to respect that. I think Craig brings up a great point between Parkview and Mill Creek. That's another marquee matchup, I think, because as Craig mentioned, the defense is so good and elite, right? You have to account for it. 2 shutouts just recently, right? And there's still question marks at the quarterback position, right? I think, Craig, you kind of told me that quarterback recently got benched, new quarterback. So how will that look, right? And, if they have a new quarterback, it's probably second, maybe third game starting. Mill Creek has a pretty good defense, man. I'm not going to lie to you. And they like to run the football, right? But you can't sleep on Shane Throckmorton. They got weapons as well. So I think it's going to be intriguing to see. Excuse me. And then, on the edge, obviously, you got the heavily touted 4-star recruit coming off the edge for Mill Creek as well, King Joseph Edwards. So I think it's going to be intriguing to see kind of how that looks for them in the season. I'm not going to lie. Maybe you could say I've been sleeping on Mill Creek a little bit. I just wanted to see they've lost so much talent, but they've looked good so far. And I think this would be another good test for them to see where they're at. Parkview has a lot of athletes. Their goals is set on winning a state championship. My biggest question with Parkview has been the quarterback. I think overall, a phenomenal team. Mike Matthews, Antonio White, Nicholas Hicks, Spain, Traylon Maddox carried them to victory against the rival North Gwinnett with over 3 touchdowns, 200-plus yards rushing. So I think there's so many storylines in that matchup, as Craig mentioned. And I think it's going to be fun to see who wins.
Yeah, real quick on it. The reason we talked about the quarterback, so Jaden Jenkins hit a good outing against St. Pius, was 5 for 5. Parkview did play 3 quarterbacks in that game, though. And then against North Gwinnett, he was 3 of 9, 55 yards, no touchdowns. And they brought in junior Cooper Frank. He only attempted 2 passes. So against St. Pius, they looked good passing the ball. Against North Gwinnett, a good 7A defense, 5 of 11 for 90 yards. As you said, they relied on Traylon Maddox. Mill Creek has a great defense. So what are they going to do? Are they going to try to beat them with the run? Are they going to take chances airing it out? We saw Parkview week 1. I could have very easily had about 3 interceptions in that game, a couple of tip balls that could have really changed it around. And just a shout out to Kel also, because I looked at the message boards yesterday. I was just trying to see what people were talking about. And after that Kel loss, people were like, drive them out of the 5A polls. Like, they destroyed Walton, beat them in the scrimmage 52-0. And it's like, people haven't watched Kel play yet. They're going to be just fine. But yeah, I just think I think Mill Creek might expose some of their weaknesses.
100%, and it's gonna be fun to see, man. And I'm gonna roll with you, Craig. I gotta roll with Mill Creek. I trust Coach Josh Lovelady. Obviously, I like Coach Josh. Joe Studevant, but I just like them and what they've been bringing to the table this season. And as you mentioned, man, I think if they go in there and win, you got to consider them a top 3, top 4 team in the state. So I think they've been proving that. It's not many you could throw in there. I mean, obviously, you got the Bufords, the Waltons, the Colquitts, and then I think Mill Creek's right there, along with Carrollton and several others. So that'll be fun. But we're going to leave it there. Our last topic. What are your thoughts on that big victory for Carver Columbus? I mean, that big victory for Brookwood coming back, Carver Columbus leading throughout. We had Jimmy commenting the other day saying, can't allow it to get the penalties, a lot of penalties in the game. They kind of hurt them. But a young team still trying to learn how to grow and trying to learn how to finish. So what do you think of that?
I mean, obviously, it's a non-region game. It's not going to matter when a 3A school plays a 7A school. It's really just an opportunity to get better, play against a big physical team. Credit to Carver Columbus. They dominated the first half. I think it was probably depth at the end. I mean, you're a 7A school. You got 3,500 students. Got a lot more kids on that sideline. They had enough juice at the end to get the comeback. Relied on the onside kick, and then credit to Brookwood's kicker for executing very well down the stretch. But it was a tough loss for Carver. Despite all those factors, they were coming off a loss to, I think, Northeast Macon the previous week. So they've played a lot of tough competition. I just think that still need that signature win this season to really get that confidence that they can do what their goal is this year, and that's compete for a state title. This is a team that also lost a heartbreaker in the 4A state championship just a few years ago. So they've had some tough losses.
No, 100%. I mean, I agree with that. Some tough losses. That definitely, I think that'll be a building win for them, and I think that'll help them go forward for the season. Again, it is a non-region game. You do want to win them all, but it's a lot of lessons you can learn. I'd rather lose a little bit early, not have it really count against me, and then take those lessons in that competition early on to help me going forward in the season. So I think that's what Carver Columbus can be able to do. So we're gonna leave it.
All right, so the depth was there. Some controversial calls. I feel you, Jimmy. Yeah. I need to go back and look at the second half. It was behind a paywall when I went to look at it yesterday, but I'll dig into that. But yeah, I was looking at the score. I was shocked when I saw that Brookwood came back. It looked like you guys had it. So yeah, maybe the refs were greasing the wheels. We'll see.
Maybe, but we're gonna leave it there. Let's move to the second segment, Craig. This was a big milestone for you, right?
Yep.
This is your most watched football weekend. You were like me. This is what I do on Saturdays. I watch nothing but college football. I have my analysis hat on. I'm taking notes, or I'm going to a game and I'm taking notes. So just what did you see over 11 hours of football you said you watched, which is a kind of anomaly for you? Just what did you see and what stood out?
The team that surprised me the most was Florida. I've got to say that. I got to give them credit. And that was a game that you had, was that Owen on the show, who's the quarterback from South Carolina?
Bluffton, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Owen Bays.
Owen Bays, that's right. So I knew he was going to be at the game. I watched it, and I got to say, that Florida defense looked legit, and then offensively, they had a good game plan. I thought they exposed Tennessee's weaknesses. It's exactly what you want to see, adapting week to week to the opponent, having a good game plan, and then executing. So I think Florida is going to be a tough team this year in the SEC East. Thought that was a good win. Um, Definitely will help catapult them moving forward. I was impressed with Georgia Tech. I watched that entire game. They fought really hard. Haynes King, the quarterback, played outstanding. They had a couple tough drops in the end zone. There was one that I think Dom almost caught that kind of got batted out at the last minute. But both teams fought that entire game, Ole Miss included, and then they kind of ran away with it at the end. They looked confident. I'm excited to see what they're going to do this week against Bama, and then the Georgia game. I wasn't nervous at all at the half. I think something that these Georgia fans need to introduce into their fandom is a little stoicism. It's like if you're the number one team, you've won two straight, just stop panicking. It's not a good look. It's still early in the season, and they dominated the second half and ran away with it. Spencer Rattler, he looked legit. I'll give him credit also. I thought he played really well, and that's what I liked about the Florida game, the Georgia Tech game, the South Carolina Georgia game. You had Spencer Rattler. He's obviously disappointed that they gave away that lead, but still, till the very end of that game, he was going out there trying to make plays. That's where that some of his late interceptions came. But overall, I thought he played with a great effort. South Carolina did the best they could, but it's that Georgia game and Dejon Edwards were too much, and I don't think many people knew that that was going to be the game plan, but it was.
100%. And to speak on some of those points you brought up, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I actually had Florida going and beating Tennessee, and I just was like that Gator atmosphere. If like you see in the game, it just looked electric out there. Like the fans came and showed up. It looked like the old swamp when they were winning
Florida
the
hates
championships.
Tennessee.
Of course.
Yeah.
You can throw Georgia in there too. They don't like Georgia either. But I just thought it was so electric, just that environment. And you seen at the end, unfortunately, got in a little bit of a tassel at the end. Don't like seeing that. Some players got suspended. But overall, man, it's a dominant wire-to-wire victory. Graham Mertz looked a lot better. Trevor Etienne, the brother of Travis Etienne, he looked good running the football. And I think that's their identity, right? Don't put so much pressure on Graham Mertz, right? Run the football, let it build into play action, and they were hitting on their balls down the field. That's what they got to do. So big signature win for Billy Napier and crew. That is how you do it. That's how you shake up the SEC East, and we'll see how Tennessee rebounds, right? Joe Milton didn't look his best as a quarterback position. Got to be a little more consistent on his throws, but overall, electric atmosphere, great game, great call by Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and one more thing from the Tennessee game. I mean, Tennessee's penalties in that game were just ridiculous. They look sloppy, and my point about Florida and Tennessee, I think Florida fans, they don't like Georgia, but they sort of respect them. There's just a disgust for Tennessee.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that went to Florida, they're like, those Tennessee, they're just disgusting people. They hate seeing that. They hate going there. I know Tennessee fans, they feel the same way. Yeah. So that was a big game. I enjoyed it a lot, but yeah, Tennessee kept shooting itself in the foot. All these penalties, just really sloppy in those closing moments. But overall, I thought Florida looked outstanding. And then, what about the Georgia Tech game? I thought they played well. Just Ole Miss ran away with it at the end.
It just took them too long to get started. Like they were up 24-3. They were hitting on some plays. I thought the coverage wasn't the best for Georgia Tech. I thought the coverage could have been better, in my opinion, on some of the plays. They weren't tackling the best. They did have some good things. Haynes King looks good. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. He's been getting some flack on Twitter and X and things like that. I don't know why. I thought he played great. Right, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looked good. The problem is they gave up 550 yards, 299 yards rushing. And get this stat, guys. Dominated time of possession, 39-17. I think it was to like 17 or 18 for Ole Miss. And they had nearly twice the amount of plays, 89 plays to 56 plays. So You just got to convert. The biggest thing I think for them converting in key situations for Georgia Tech, they did look a lot better. Got to cover up the back end. But if they can dominate time of possession like that and convert it into scoring opportunities and chances, I think they'll be just fine. That's my thoughts on the game.
Yep, 48-23 final. I thought it was closer than that. Haynes King, I'll give him a shout out too. He was at our 7-on-7 all those games helping out, and I got to see kind of the end of practice. He was winning every single sprint, and I brought it up to him. I'm like, dude, you're in like crazy shape, and he said, yeah, Texas. I think Texas A&M was where he came from, or Texas Tech. I think it was Texas A&M.
I think so.
Yeah, but he was like, yeah, we used to work out so hard there. So you saw that in this Ole Miss game. I mean, he was making pretty athletic plays, quarterback keepers, keeping the chains, keeping them in the game. So I think you have that quarterback. Tech is so much improved from last season. Eric Singleton from Alexander, he's balling out as a freshman, 5 catches, 97 yards. But yeah, defensively, that's gotta.
That's where it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
it got to be better. It got to be better defensively. That's their biggest hole right now. So we'll see if they get this shirted up. I think they got an afternoon game against Bowling Green. They should be able to get back on track, win that one, and go 2-2. Now, quick thoughts on the Georgia game. A lot of injuries. I think the most injuries Georgia has had in a long time, right? Again, big game from Dijon Edwards. Kendall Milton's hurt. A little bit of adversity, right? And I mean, I think for Georgia fans, y'all have been spoiled the last couple of years, right? Two national championships. It's not going to be easy. This is an SEC foe. You did have them at home, but like you said, from it, it's going to take time. Got to get your players healthy. I think Carson Beck's doing a good job, good command of the offense, and the defense kind of took over in the second half. I mean, obviously we're trailing, but the defense shutting them down, I think shutting them out in the second half because I think it was 24-14 win, 14-3 at the break. Great job by the defense. We know the defense is going to – this is what Georgia's known for. So, obviously some lessons you can learn from that. Got to keep pushing forward, and I think Georgia will be fine.
Yeah, and you're talking about the injuries. People were upset with the slow start. Here's my question. So the number one criticism I see with this Georgia offense and Mike Bobo is this word. It's predictability. Do you think that's the problem? Predictability?
I think it has a little bit to do with it. I wouldn't say that's the core problem. I think, you know what I'm saying, what people have to understand is obviously Mike Bobo has a rich history, right? He's went to Colorado State. He's been in the Georgia program for over 20 years. But this is his first time being like the OC there. So it's going to take some time, for him to get the play calling right? It's not going to be a refined product, right? It wasn't a refined product when Todd Monken started, right? But he got it going. He started knowing what to do. So to Georgia fans, I know they're kind of talking about the predictability and how Mike Bobo calls plays, and it's not looking right. Just give him a little bit of time to iron the kinks out, get the things out. And I think you guys will like it towards the end of the season. He'll start getting on fire. He'll know what the strengths are, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that word's so funny, though, because anytime the defense is stopping you, it's going to make it look like the offense is being predictable. And so people say that, like, that's the problem. But if the offense is clicking on those same exact plays, it's like, oh, this is brilliant. So I think it will be interesting. But, yeah, with those injuries you talked about, if it gets into a situation where the backfield's banged up, some of the receivers, O-line, and it falls on Carson Beck's shoulders, I mean, that is the big question mark.
Yeah.
I think he's been fine. He's not making mistakes. But, yeah, what's he really going to bring to the table? We will see. But overall, defense, I mean, they got it done. They looked like the better team in the second half. And, yeah, they're moving forward. Everything is fine. But let's talk about what do you think in the Alabama game? Let's go to that one.
Okay, so Bama, right? The defense did good, I thought, right? The offense is shaky, right? You started the guy that you got from Notre Dame, Tyler Butner. He's not the answer, right? You tried Ty Simpson, and obviously it's unfair to him getting put in that predicament. It's tough, but just stick with your best player, right? He didn't perform good against Texas, Jalen Milroe, and I'm glad he announced him a starter. Let him iron out the kinks. Let him make the mistakes that he did and let him learn from it. Don't learn from benching a quarterback unless it's like an awful performance, unless it's like he had 5 interceptions or he just not reading the field, I get it. But there was no reason to do that. And I think Saban's realizing that. I think the offensive coordinator's realizing that. The locker room is kind of behind Jalen Milroe. I think that's their biggest question with Bama is the quarterback, right? How good can he be? And the good thing was, Craig, and I'll point this out about Bama. I was very, very impressed. I don't want to get his name wrong, y'all, so I got to look up his name. But I did watch the game. I can't remember the running back's name at this moment. Rodell Williams, right? 17 carries, 179, 29 yards, in a touchdown. Bama's always been known, guys, for having elite running backs, always having a good running game, a good offensive offensive line has to be better. It's given up in this game. But if you're running forward and you're pushing your O line forward and you're leaning on Rodell Williams in the rushing attack, and you bring in Justice Haynes as well, and you do running back by committee, that's how the offense should flow going forward. You take some of the pressure off of the quarterback, right? And the good thing with Jalen Milroe is he's a running option as well, right? Obviously, he can throw it. You might say he struggles with the deep downfield throws, but he's going to be able to do enough to put you in position to win. If you lean on the running attack for Bama, you let Jalen Milroe do what he does. Let him be an athlete. Let him be able to throw the intermediate throws and short throws. Build off of that. Set up some play action. Bama will be fine. But the other two quarterbacks are not the answer. I'm sorry. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, clear question marks at the quarterback position.
Yes.
Talking about this next game, though, how do you think they're going to match up against Ole Miss? What do you see happening in this game? And will Ole Miss be able to expose those weaknesses?
I'm going to tell you this right here. Ole Miss has always struggled against Bama. They struggled with getting pressure on the quarterback as far as what I do like about Ole Miss, they got offense this year. Jackson Dart can sling that football. Yep. So if Bama gets behind early, I don't think it bodes well for them. But if Bama can set the tone, they can turnover, fumble. If they can the football, I think it's going to be very tough for them. But I think looking ahead into the matchup, Ole Miss just got to do what they do best. They've been doing great airing the ball out, play action. And correct me if I'm wrong, I've seen a dominant pass rusher this year for Bama that just stands out on tape. Has been talked about a lot. Maybe that's just seeing that this year. So I think that's a little more opportune for Ole Miss. I think it's going to be an intriguing game. I think it's going to be back and forth, and I think you'll see two highly rated teams go at it.
Yep, and I think what makes the Ole Miss offense dangerous is like the Tech game when they're in control and can take the big shots and know they can set them up. Dart does have a huge arm. You saw that the way they closed out against Tech. You think they're just going to try to run the clock out and then they will hit you. So if they get control of this game early and that offense gets comfortable, Alabama's going to be in some trouble. They're going to have to come out and get something going and try to control the game. But they just, I mean, that offense in the first half just looked like, I mean, literally they were just like scratching their heads like, we don't know what to do. Like they didn't have a clue.
No, 100%.
Couldn't get first downs, couldn't move the ball at all. It's just like,
nope.
So, yeah, that's not going to fly. I think it will be a good game, though, for sure. And then what are your thoughts about still got to talk about the Colorado game?
Of course. Yeah, let's talk about that real quick, and let's do some game picks. Because, Craig, this is such a good week for college football, and that's what I'll pull up this week. I just want to look at it and talk about it together. So, Colorado game, right? It sucks. It sucks because Colorado got tested, which was good for them, right? They needed to be tested. They haven't really had that big test. Obviously, TCU, yes, but at home, I mean, you had Lil Wayne out there performing. I mean, Craig, you had so much going on in that game, right? Or leading up to it, offsets there. I mean, they got Kawhi Leonard out the house. I mean, so much is going on prior to the game. I thought the play. Now, no one deserves that death threats, Craig. That's not cool at all for the safety. But that was such a dirty hit. I mean, the ball has already hit the ground. Travis is coming down, and then you just hit him for no reason at all. He should have been thrown out the game.
100%. How is he not ejected? It makes no sense. That is the biggest thing that pisses me off with these referees and these calls.
Yes.
Is when it's serious sometimes they don't call it. And then when it's a bang play, they're like, oh, targeting.
Yes.
How is that not targeting? I don't understand.
I don't understand either.
Or hitting they literally called what unsportsmanlike
Yep.
or a 15-yard penalty. Travis Hunter got hit square in like the rib cage, the most like vulnerable part besides I don't know like your head or something. I mean,
Yep. Yep.
that was just a brutal hit,
Yep.
a cheap shot,
Yep.
and just yeah.
But overall, I mean, they struggled. But what I liked about Colorado was again their resolve, right? Shador's that guy, man. And to be down that and what was so cool, their defense just continually stepped up, right? They were either getting a turnover or they were getting a sack. They kept getting the ball to the offense, even struggle. And the defense get a little bit exposed. It kind of did, but they came up stop late. I think Shador has a in their tight end Harrison, who had a great performance, right at over 3 touchdowns. Can hit him in the middle of the field, but to be down 2-yard line and to drive down, you need it. This is a must-have it drive and to go and get your team back into the game. That was incredible by Shador. So I thought overall just a good fight. I thought they were doing some dirty stuff. You mentioned another play when what's his name Kamara had hit him in the head first and then slammed him down again and put his head to the turf. I mean, I just thought in the game that they were doing certain stuff to try to get their best players out of the game, and it was unnecessary. It's not like Colorado came in there talking mess. Their coach started that, talking mess about Dion. They just used it as ammunition, basically, Colorado did. But it seemed like they were out to try to hurt their best players. That's just my
Yeah, we
opinion.
saw him meeting before the game at midfield talking, and I went into it's like, okay, this is gonna be a good rivalry. Like, but watch the game, I'm like, wow, they actually hate each other. They're
Yep.
trying to kill each other.
Yep.
Not well, the Colorado State guys. I mean, the hit on the quarterback, a big defensive tackle landing on him. That's how quarterbacks break their collarbone. But what I'll say about Colorado, and I know it's still early, is you can 100% tell that the team is playing for something bigger than themselves. It's not just the underdog. Become a true phenomenon. And as Jimmy's pointing out, you don't have a 98-yard drive. And it's not just the motivation of playing for something higher than yourself. It's given them this like focus and execution where no matter the situation, and I just thought it was one of the best football games I've seen. It was exciting. It was different. It was new. It was just epic, and that's going to have to carry over. We'll see if the momentum can keep going. They've got a tough schedule. We know that, but
They do.
We'll see what the injury reports are. But overall, I just think it's exciting and just to see a team playing. Yeah, as I said, something bigger than themselves.
Yes. And Jimmy, we need you to bookmark this. You're one of our favorites. You always tune in. But we need you to bookmark this, Jimmy. We about to do college football predictions. Actually, I need to get my pen. Craig, I'll be back. Let me grab my pen.
All right.
And it's right here. Got it. Let's do and we're gonna do this going forward too. Just college football predictions, top 5 games. It's so many good ones. So let's see who me and Craig come up with. Jimmy, we need you to keep a recollection of this so we can go back to it and see who had the better one, so that I can clown Craig inside the office. All right, so first game, Clemson versus FSU. And I know Clemson is not ranked, but this game should at least be a 3:30 kickoff. I don't get the noon games. If you guys look at my TikTok on my recent video, like the Colorado U, and why is the game at 3:30? Could have did the 7:30 slot. These marquee games, stop doing at noon, man. Do these games later in the day, man. But nonetheless, who you got, Craig? Clemson, FSU.
Yeah, FSU.
Woo! Road game for Florida State. They struggled against Boston College. Late game victory. I'm rolling with the upset. I got Clemson. I agree with Jimmy. I'm gonna roll with the Tigers to upset the Florida State Seminoles. I'm rolling with that. All right. What other game you see on there, Craig, that you got circled?
Ole Miss, Alabama.
All right, let's talk about that one. We just kind of talked about it. Ole Miss, Alabama. Who's home?
Alabama.
I kind of want to go upset, but something in me is just like Bama's going to get it together. They're going to be rejuvenized. Struggle victory against South Florida. Jalen Milroe, their starting quarterback, they're going to lean on him. They're going to be rejuvenized. Bama.
Oh man, I'm gonna go Ole Miss.
Ooh. All right, that's to be disagree on, Jimmy. Mark that down for us, man. All right, so we got another one.
Ohio State, Notre Dame.
All right, let's do that one. Ohio State, Notre Dame. I'm kind of back and forth on this, to be honest, because I have not been so impressed with Cade McCord. But what they need to do for Ohio State is run the football, right? They got to run the football, and they got so many weapons, right? Emeka Ibuka, they got Marvin Harrison, right? They got to be able to get those guys the ball in space. Just let your playmakers do what they do, right? But I like Sam Hartman at Notre Dame. He just gives them a different dynamic, and I think it's tough. I think Notre Dame's home, right?
Yep. Ohio State's still a favorite, but
that's a tough environment to win in. Man, I got to go upset. I'm sorry. I love Ohio State, but probably one of my other favorite college teams besides Miami. But I got Notre Dame with upset.
Oh man.
Yeah, Notre Dame with an upset.
I'm going Notre Dame too. It's the first time I've ever picked them.
Interesting. Okay, so we are in agreement. All right, my next game, Colorado, Oregon. Craig, who you got?
Oregon. I think Travis Hunter is going to be out.
He's out 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's just tough.
I don't want to pick him. I just think, you lose Travis Hunter. You're coming off that win. It's
like he does so much for you, right? He can lock down one side of the offensively. He gives you another dynamic. You did find a new dynamic with the tight end, right? You got Dylan Edwards you can run the ball with. You got Jimmy Horn, but it's just like, this is a real, not that the other teams aren't real, but this is a real Pac-12 team, and at home in that environment, I got to Oregon too. I do. I like Colorado. If Travis was playing, I would go upset, but maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe Shedeur goes in there and he says, "Hey, I'm the Heisman this year. This is the statement. We've already been making statements all year. I'm going to go in here in the hostile environment. I'm going to make a statement. I'm going to carry my team to victory." And that's what he did against Colorado State. I can respect. He did do that. Yep. But I got to go with Oregon.
They're 21-point favorite. So we'll see. But, I mean, every team's been a 20-point favorite so far. Besides Colorado State. But still.
Now we got another one. We got UCLA, Utah. Pretty good. Struggled a little bit against Baylor. But they will be at home. I think they play better at home for Utah. Is on Fox at 3:30. I gotta roll Utah. I think in this one, I think they win it at home pretty big.
Yep, going with Utah as well.
All right, what's another one you got? Are we down to the stretch?
I think that's 5. We can do one more. Let's see.
Ooh, let's do 2 more. Okay, I see some good ones. Iowa and Penn State. That is going to be a good one. That's going to be a CBS late kick at 7:30. I'm rolling with Penn State at home. Again, that environment, Nappy Valley, they're just a different team. I like their quarterback, who's underrated, in my opinion. I think they go on the road. I think they get that big victory.
Yeah, I'll go with Penn State also. Then got to do, what do you think? There's Oregon State, Washington.
That's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one. Okay, so Oregon State, I think the QB battle in this one will be good, right? Oregon State versus Washington State. Okay, so Washington State already pulled off an upset earlier this year, beating Wisconsin. I think their quarterback's next level. I know Oregon State has DJ Ugule, who's looked a lot better.
Colorado State.
Yep, beat him pretty good too, 50-24. Their quarterback right now is having a phenomenal season. Cameron Ward, he's having a rebound season from 2022. We struggled a little bit, didn't have nearly the same output, but right now 986 yards through 3 games, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Also leads them, I think, in rushing this so far this season, 95 yards so far, 2 touchdowns. Doing a good job of spreading out the football. I'm rolling with Washington State. Big win at home against Oregon State.
Let's see. Man, that's tough. So Oregon State won 24-10 last year. I'll go with Oregon State.
All right,
I think the defense comes through.
All right, that's a big one. And then this is just a game I got on upset alert. Texas, number 3 in the country at Baylor. Baylor's already given problems and trouble to Utah, nearly pulled off a victory. It seems like when we almost think, and I be this guy, but every time we think Texas is back, they have a game like this, they struggle and they lose. They end up not making it. Not saying that's going to happen, but I want to see if they can go in that hostile environment in Baylor and come out with the victory. I have that game on upset alert. That will be intriguing to see if they can come out with the victory on the road.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. They always have that disappointing loss. So we'll
Yes.
see. We'll see.
Yes.
They got some candidates coming up. So Baylor, Kansas, they play Oklahoma, BYU's on there. So yeah,
Yep.
tough sledding. And that Bama win doesn't look as impressive after that last week.
No, it does not. But let's go ahead and move to the NFL segment, third segment to wrap up today. Um, Craig, big victory on the road, man. That was not easy. I think Jacksonville's defense is a lot better than most people thought. Turned you guys over early, but you rebounded. Travis Kelce had a TD. Mahomes looked good. Offense looked better. Your defense is looking good. Only 9 points. So just what were your standouts from the game?
Yes, it was such a relief. Chris Jones back on that defense, all the sacks, holding them to just 9 points, no touchdowns for that Jaguars offense.
No.
That's a great sign. Obviously, there's still some offenses that can cause problems, but I think they looked good. That's a team that you could potentially face later on in the playoffs. Great win. And then offensively, yeah, it's good to have Travis Kelce back. We needed that win badly. We did.
Yes.
Did not want to fall to 2-0. I thought it was a good response, and I was just, happy to see it for sure.
Yes, 100%. And I think for me, just a great victory on the road for Kansas City. You keep treading forward. Division struggling. Everybody's 1-1.
Except the
Broncos.
Chargers.
Yep, Broncos and Chargers. Broncos are 0-2, nearly pulled off that victory. Chargers are 0-2, struggling right now. And then they're tied right now with the Raiders. So division's right there for them, even though they lost week 1. So I think Chiefs is once again in the driver's seat as the division continues to struggle.
Yep, and it was a road win, so that's huge as well.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of the AFC. Who do you think looks the best in the AFC right now?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna roll. I think you gotta go Baltimore. I don't like them. They're a rival, but Baltimore, Miami are both that. Gotta go Baltimore. How they're running the football. I know they said Lamar didn't look good week 1. But I think they have all the tools to be successful this year, right? They can air the ball out. They got Zay Flowers. Unfortunately, Odell Beckham went out with an injury, but I just think that they are able to do so many things well. And they got a rushing game still, even with the injury to J.K. Dobbins. Mark Andrews is a problem. You still have to account for Lamar Jackson on those third downs and shorts. And even if you cover everything well, he can still escape and use his legs in order to get a first down. So I think they looked the most impressive. The defense was pretty good against us. We couldn't get it going into the second half once again. And they beat us with a lot of their key players. No Rodney Stanley, no Tyler Lindenbaum, no Marcus Williams, their safety, no more. So I got to give credit to Baltimore. I think they've looked the best. Them and Miami. I think Miami defense didn't look good against Chargers, but looked a lot better against the Patriots. And as long as they can keep Tua healthy and Waddle and Hill, they're right there.
I'd agree with that. And yeah, we were talking about the Jets week 1, and we know Rodgers went out, sold on Zach Wilson.
I'm still not.
Yeah, it was 12 of 27, 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown. Cowboys demolished the Jets. So yeah, the AFC is looking pretty open. We'll see if Buffalo, nice win week 2, they didn't look good at all week 1. So yeah, you got to give credit to Baltimore so far.
Yes. Now to his defense, he did play the. They've been on another level this year, but as Shannon Sharp said, he couldn't play dead in a horror movie. I think that was the comment of the week.
Oh my God, never heard that one.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But I just think that it's tough, man. Like that's why they paid all that money to go get Rodgers. We'll see how he continues to progress, but they got a pretty good team, man. They do. They can help him in a game. You can't turn over the ball that many times and just expect to win, in my opinion. So we'll see how he rebounds. AFC East will continue to be interesting, but tough loss. I just think you
What
don't have
happened
Rodgers.
here? They just were playing from behind
Look,
that
look at the
Cowboys
carry.
defense.
Look at the carries. Even Brees Hall called it out. 4 carries, 4 touches. He ran last week. He had 3 touches. He had over 100 yards. This is what I tell you. Like they overcomplicate it. When you have elite runners like they do, like it, it troubles me. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. It frustrates me because they have Brees Hall and they have Dalvin Cook. Now, if you guys want to say Dalvin Cook's not the same player, whatever. He still had 1,000 yards 4 consecutive seasons. You still run the football. You know that you don't have Aaron Rodgers, right?
Right.
Run the football, make it easier, right? Play action pass, things like that. I've never understood about the league. You don't add more pressure onto Zach Wilson. You don't try to throw the ball more, knowing your offensive line is not very good, right? They struggle. They struggled against the Bills, right? They're gonna struggle against this defensive line. Mekhi Becton's been struggling. Run the football. Run the football. I don't get it, and I see why Brees Hall called it out. I really do, and that's what it is. And Jimmy, we're gonna talk about your Falcons today too.
Yeah, and that's Brees Hall, 4 carries, 9 yards with a long of 9. So the other ones just went nowhere.
Yeah, it's
They
negative.
just didn't even try to set it up.
No.
But yeah, I'll talk about the Falcons right
Yeah,
now.
let's talk about the Falcons. So big victory at home against the Packers. As I said going into the season, I thought the defense was going to be a lot better, and it has been. Those free agents acquisitions of Bud Dupree and Calais Campbell, bringing in Ellis from the Saints, bringing in Jesse Bates, Okuda, and several others has helped out you guys a lot. And it looks a lot better, right? Desmond Ritter, as you know, is performing pretty decent. And it's the weapons. That's what I said. I didn't think the Falcons shouldn't struggle this year because you got Bijan you drafted, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, you got Mac Hollins, you got so many, pieces and weapons out there. You should have a good season. So they're performing well. Them being able to run the ball, got Tyler Algier, they just do a lot of things well, and got a chance. I think that division is going to be interesting. 3 2-0 teams.
Yeah, for sure. And Bijan, he's just one of the best incoming prospects I've seen. Guys that really just can change the position. He can do so much. He's just plays at a different level. He's going to be a problem all season long, making an impact. And then I just think Falcons have been playing well with Coach Smith. They've won a lot of close games. They don't really get blown out. They give themselves a fighting chance. Then you have to love the way they closed out both of these first 2 weeks. And then even at home, they're starting to become a good home team. Both these wins have been at home, and I think they're 8-3 in the last 11 games at the bin. So that's exciting, and it's such a huge um, benefit for the Falcons to have a good start to the season with all the question marks. That's going to get the momentum going. It gets the fans excited, and that is something they've been craving in recent seasons.
Yes, and the NFC has been kind of tallied as a weak conference, but I think it's going to be intriguing, right? AFC is kind of beat up right now. It's not a lot of teams that are 2-0, right? So that's kind of the effect of the AFC, right? NFC is like, okay, who's going to be able to sustain this, right? Can the Falcons sustain this 2-0 start? Can they potentially make a run and make the playoffs, right? Can they win that division, right? You got the Saints in there. Saints are 2-0, went on the road and defeated Carolina Panthers, right? Derek Carr is looking good. That defense is real, right? A lot of weapons. Rashid Shaheed. You got Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. They still got to wait for Alvin Kamara to come back, right? Buccaneers are looking good with Baker Mayfield at the quarterback and at the helm. Still got Mike Evans. Still got Chris Godwin. So I think the NFC is going to be really intriguing. We thought before they've struggled. It looked like they've regressed, unfortunately. But I think in that NFC North, you're going to have. I think it's going to be duked out between the Lions, and I think the Packers are going to be able to duke it out there in that division. No offense to the Bears, no offense to the Vikings, but I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Speaking of, and then that's the Falcons' next matchup at Detroit. It's gonna be a fun game to watch for sure.
Good test too.
Yeah.
Very good test. So we're going to see.
Yeah. So at Detroit, then at home, Jacksonville and Houston. So that's their first 5 games right there. Got to win 2 of these, and I think they'll be in position to make a run this year at the playoffs for sure. But you got to win these home games. You got to beat the Texans. And then if you can pull off a win against either Detroit on the road or Jacksonville at home, I think they're gonna be the real deal this year.
100%. So we're gonna find out. We're gonna see what happens. There will be a fun storyline to watch out for. Any other big standouts from you, Craig?
In the NFL front,
Yeah.
let's see. Well, you don't want to talk about the Bengals at all?
No, we can.
Okay.
Let's do it. Yeah, it's the same storyline I had last year. We throw the too much, and I'm glad the media and I'm glad fans are calling out that terrible play calling by Zach and Brian, right? And it's been called out by players as well. I just think Burrow's obviously getting the ball out fast, 2.5 seconds. And I think he has the line to be successful. And I don't like the lazy comment, lazy take, I think, by RG3 saying the Bengals are turning him into Andrew Luck. If you were going to say that 2020, 2021, I'd agree with you. But as I said in my take today, they've invested in the offensive line. They brought in 3 new dudes. They drafted Cordell Volson. They brought in Ted Karras. They brought in Alex Kappa. Jonah Williams is still not sold on that right tackle. As I said in the draft, they should have went and got a right tackle, in the first, second, third round. You had DeJuan Jones, who's 6'8", 374, who's now with the Browns, a division rival. You could have got him. Could have got Broderick Jones. This was a draft to go get a tackle. And then you let Lyle Collins go to save $7 million in cap space. I just don't get it. He's a great security blanket. Have numerous teams want him. We should have. Oh, he's not the same player. Still should have kept him on the roster. But then you got Orlando Brown at the left tackle. They have looked good so far. Only 3 sacks they've given up. One of the sacks I think was Burrow's fault because they bought an edge blitz, and he looked kind of confused of what was going to happen. So I think that was the biggest standout. As far as the offensive line, I think they're doing a heck of a job. They look a heck of a lot better from 2022 to 2023. And think about this against that Cleveland defensive line only gave up. You say, oh, they torched them, only gave up 2 sacks. So they're doing a good job. 1 sack against Baltimore. They're doing a good job so far. Number 2, and I told this to Graham, who's a big Bengal fanatic. And I agree with Jamar Chase when he brought it up. He should have shot out to week 5 to make sure he was right. Now you retweak your calf. Burrow should sit out. And I think they should put him on IR. And the reason I say that, Craig, and you tell me what would be your response, and I'm going to go a bit in depth and get your opinion. Would you rather your go on IR for this season? Let's just say the season's potentially a wash for the Bengals. Right? Let's say they don't get there. Let's say it's a wash. They might be able to. If they can get 500 football and bring them back, maybe. But let's say they don't. Would you rather have 2023 be a wash, but then the next 1 or 2 years you still have a potential opportunity and to win the Super Bowl? Or would you rather your quarterback suffer potentially, knock on wood, a catastrophic injury and him never to be the same again, or you have to struggle? Which one would you prefer?
What is the calf injury, though? Because I just feel like
It's a calf strain.
it's a calf strain.
Yeah. You don't want to aggravate it. This is the same injury that happened to KD. They brought KD back. He tears his Achilles. We've seen Rodgers tear your Achilles. I don't want that injury for Burrow. I don't. Now I say, oh, it's a pain tolerance. You don't need to force him back. It was like, oh, he just got his money. Burrow's already shown he can do. He's been in the Super Bowl. He's been in the AFC Championship game. I don't want to see him tear his Achilles, right? That's what I'm concerned about. Everybody's concerned about the short term. I am looking long term when I look at Burrow.
And you think that this injury, if he were to return this season, you're saying it's like 4 to 5 weeks minimum. Like, you don't want him to sit 1 week and keep playing this game.
No, I don't. That's just me as a fan being realistic. Now, you got some that say like through it or, oh, he should play. No, as a fan, I don't want him to play. I don't. I want Burrow to be right. I want Burrow to be healthy. I prefer that long term because we have him for 7 seasons. It's okay if one season's a wash. As he said in his career, the window's always open. Of course, they're going to have to get better in some areas. Defensively hasn't been looking the best. They have to get better. But I'd rather him be okay 100% than go with a quarterback that's 70, 60% the whole damn season. No, I don't want to do that. That's just me.
Yep. Well, that should be interesting. And then, so the backups, that's Jake Browning and Will Greer.
And Will Greer looked good. He looked good. So
Yeah.
Monday night he shouldn't play. That's just me. They say, "Oh, it's up in the air. Don't play him. Don't
That's
need
a
to
good
play."
point. My only other question: what do you think about the Bucks, Baker Mayfield so far?
He's looked good. He's looked good. I would say Baker's looked good. Baker's done his thing and he's going through his progressions and he's being physical when he's running the ball. And he hasn't been turnover prone. And I think if he continues with that formula, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Evans had a huge game. I think it's interesting to see him have success so far.
No, 100%. So that's my thoughts. And then last thing on the Bengals to wrap up. So that's what I think they should do. And then, as I said again, play calling. So we'll see. They're going to have to be more creative. You can't just give Mixon 12, 13 carries. You got to run the ball more. That's what it comes down to. And defensively, we'll see if they get better. But hopefully, as I told Graham, Joseph Asai can come back and give us a kind of lift rushing the football and rushing the passer. So we'll see what happens.
For sure.
Yep.
Big games, though. And I really do. I think out of all next week, I think that Falcons-Detroit game is going to be very intriguing.
Yes.
Those teams have distinct styles. We'll see how it goes. And should be a good NFC matchup.
It should. So we'll see how Cleveland rebounds as well. Unfortunate injury to Nick Chubb. As you guys know, Nick Chubb went to Cedartown.
It's been a tough year for Cedartown so far.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate, but great player. I didn't like the hit. I mean, I thought he could have hit him anywhere else, but the damn knee pretty much broke his leg, looks like. So that sucks. But nonetheless, we'll see how he recovers and rebounds from it. But Pittsburgh defense looked for real. I'm not gonna lie to you. TJ Watt and Alexander Highsmith did an outstanding job. So shout out to them. Great play from them. The defense gonna be for real. They play the Raiders on Sunday night, so that'll be an interesting matchup to watch for.
Yep, that's tough. And with Nick Chubb, I mean, he's talk about a leg injury. He's got the strongest legs probably in the NFL. So I mean, he'll come back from it. He'll be good. But yeah, it's tough to see for sure. And yeah, the Steelers, the AFC, I see them and it does not take my mind to a happy place. But
it's gonna be tough, man. Whoever come out of the AFC, you just got to give you credit, man. I mean, you're gonna get beat up on, especially in the AFC North, like we are, the Bengals and the Ravens. I mean, it's tough. So it's gonna be intriguing. One last thing, and we'll wrap up. I have been impressed. I will say this, Craig. They're 0-2. I have been impressed with the Patriots. I like Christian Gonzalez. I like what Mac Jones has been doing with Kendrick Bourne. I like them running the football with Zeke and Rashawn Stevenson. I like how the Patriots will look. They just got to get their offense together. But they've been very impressive so far throughout the season. Played Philly tough and played Dolphins tough. I think 2 perennial contenders and playoff teams.
Yep. It looks like they got the Jets this week on the road.
Upset alert.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Looks like, favored now 2.5 on the road. Must-win game for the Patriots.
Yes.
They got to take that one.
100%.
And Bills, Commanders. Let's see, Buffalo. Yeah, I think they'll bounce back. Yeah, it's been an exciting 2 weeks. I definitely didn't expect some of these results. See, Falcons 2-0. Awesome.
Yep. 100%. All right, guys, we're going to leave it there. We're going to get back to work. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Tune in for Craig Show tomorrow. Drive for the GHC State